Not a bad way to end the week, huh? Look at that. We are streaming live on a Friday afternoon from the Humber Arboretum. And yes, you know what? I'm doing a happy dance, not only because it's Friday, but also because I'm double vaccinated. Doo-dah! Yes! Oh my goodness, I'm so thrilled, and I am so excited to welcome you aboard to another edition of Here and There. This is a digital road trip, is how I describe it, where we get a chance to connect and explore some exciting places that have really cool stories. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to have an amazing show. Let me just sort of set the scene on where we are. We mentioned the Humber Arboretum. Look at this place. It's 250 acres, and this is public gardens. There's natural areas, and it's all located in the Humber River watershed in North Etobicoke. It is a part of the most diverse ecosystem in Canada, so I'm looking forward to being your tour guide here as we explore about this area. An amazing show coming up, 5-star lineup. It's also International Pollinator Week. So this is a chance where we, really celebrate pollinators and spread the word about them, what we can do to help them, because they need our help. Many of them are being threatened. So we're going to give you some tips on how to create a pollinator paradise. So that's on the way. Plus also we have a brand new AKQ. Got a cool story about that. That's coming up. Your full forecast. There's a lot of rain on the way. It has already started in portions of southwestern Ontario. It's going to be soggy in cottage country, so I'll break all that down to you as well. But let's start on how this beautiful spot came to be. And it dates back almost 50 years. 50 years, this spot here, I'll get out of the way, it really was just an open parcel of land. And they have a horticultural program here at the Humber College campus. This is the North Campus. The students said, you know what, again, this is 1972, this might be a good spot for us to practice our projects. Let's build a couple of gardens. And it was that really sort of, planted a seed, if you will, for a partnership. So the college, Humber College, the City of Toronto, City of Etobicoke, and the Toronto Region of Conservation Authority, TRCA, they all worked together and said, let's make this a green space like no other. And I think they did pretty good. And you have such a very different types of habitats here. And that means many different types of wildlife live here. And you could explore all around. There's actually 6 kilometers of trails. There's botanical gardens. There's natural areas along the Humber River. Bird species, this is a haven for them. Over 150 species have been cataloged here. Some of them certainly migratory. But also when you look at the different habitats, like this pond here, it's just stellar, and there are many different ponds. This in itself would be a habitat for turtles, for different types of frogs. And what I love here is you can see some of the lily pads. I mean, it's just absolutely breathtaking. And to think that you are, a car ride or a bus ride away, but this is just amazing to see all of the different types of habitats. And I would think this would be an amazing spot, to recharge yourselves, sit here and maybe read a favorite book. And I want to share a really cool story with you in just a second, but I want to say hello to all of our viewers. Wow, we have many of them joining us here. Wendy is saying hi from Mississauga. Sandy is watching. Glenn is watching. Miranda says good afternoon, everyone. Barbara says hello. Also, Judy saying, oh, a bug is biting me. Hello from our farmland and Amaranth. Also, Sharon is joining us from Jamaica. Man, that's nice. I was looking. We have over 10 countries around the world that are joining us, so that's kind of cool. Kathy is joining us. Brenda Sim is joining us. Also, Pat saying good Friday afternoon. Looking forward to the show today. Alan says, hello. How am I? Well, I'm doing great because it's Friday, and look where we are. It's just a beautiful way to close out the week. Linda's joining us. Also, Lois says good afternoon from Lindsay. Jennifer is saying hi from Whitby. We need rain. Well, Jennifer, rain is coming. That is for sure. You can count on that. But I also want to say hi to Sarah J. Yes, that's right, Sarah J. From now on, I'm going to refer you to Sarah J. That's right. So, listen, I want to get into a story before we get into the AKQ as we stream live here at the Humber Arboretum on a Friday. And this story I thought was really cool because it's based out of Sheboygan. And I just think that in itself, to say Sheboygan, Michigan, Sheboygan, 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 that's the hometown of Tim Allen. He was doing the big PR move for that, right? right? But there's this lady who runs a boat tour company in Sheboygan, Michigan. And the other day, she was scuba diving, cleaning the windows of her boat, the glass bottom boat. So I'm going to show you an image of her. And while she was doing that with her scuba gear, she found a bottle. Little tiny green bottle. So we'll show you this image of her and the little bottle, and yes, the message that was in the bottle. So as it turns out that this little message dates back to 1926 inside this little bottle, and it read, "Will the person who finds this bottle return this paper to Mr. George Morrow in Sheboygan, Michigan, and tell where it was found?" So first of all, that's pretty cool, but it gets better. So she posts the picture on her Facebook page, and wouldn't you know it, the daughter of the guy who wrote it says, "That's my dad." And yes, isn't that cool? And she says, you know, and he's deceased now. She looks at some of the writing and she says, "That's something my dad would have done." And she figured out it was in November, probably when it was his 18th birthday in November, and he probably did it on that day. He threw it over. So what happened in the end, the boat company was going to hand over the bottle, but the daughter said, "You know what? You keep it because you can keep my dad's memory alive because it's such a great story." So that's what the boat company's going to do. They're going to shadow box frame it and keep the note in it. I just thought it was a very cool story. So it gets me to our AKQ, the Anwar Night query. What is the coolest thing you ever found? I don't know. For me, believe it or not, I found a gold ring snorkeling in the Dominican. And I haven't had it appraised. I know it's gold. A buddy of mine says it looks like it's a ruby ring. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, now as I rethink it, maybe I would be retired right now on the beach. But I do have it, a true story, and this is going back probably 10 years. But that I thought was one of the coolest things I ever found. But that's the question for you. What is the coolest thing you ever found? That's the AKQ. Ricardo on camera, anything cool?
I found a coin once.
You found a coin. Was it a valuable coin?
It said 1898.
1898?
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be worth something.
An old house in Vancouver, yeah.
Well, that's cool. What about you, Vern?
Two $20 bills when I was 12 years old.
Now, were they special trend, or just the fact that it was 40 bucks and you were 12?
I shared it with my best friend.
Oh, you shared it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, because we know you're pretty cheap. We bet you have it cellophaned. And it's
I'm so wealthy.
Yes. Well, that's kind of cool. So that's what we're asking. Ricardo, if I were to ask you, sorry, Richard.
I found myself recently. Self-exploration. I found
Richard found himself. Okay, fair enough. Point taken. Maybe you want to put it back. So that's the AKQ, right? Now, I want to give you a tour. Before we do that, we're also going to give you some tips on making a pollinator paradise. I want to get to the forecast, though. So we're going to start off by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble Podcast. This is something that we really invite you to check out because it's along with the undeniable stories of our changing planet, but also some of the amazing people that are trying to save it. And it's available now on your favorite podcast player or online at www.bigbluemarble.earth. Oh, Bev is joining us from beautiful Port Hope. We hope to get there in the Port Hope area maybe over the next few weeks. Ron says, thanks for getting your shot. Always sending a good example. Listen, I couldn't wait to get it. And I'll be honest with you, I was part of the guys that had to get the Moderna. Was I apprehensive? Not really. You know, did it affect me? A little bit. Got a slight fever. I felt wiped for about 18 hours, but now I'm on cloud 9 because I'm fully vaccinated, as is my wife. So, you know, what I wanted to stress, I wouldn't bother shopping, you know, for your vaccine because you're going to delay normalcy for your own family and your own life. You know, for us, we can really have a sigh of relief for that. I'm not going to get into a big thing on it, but I just want you to know. But thank you for that, Ron. Anita's joining us. Says hello from Oshawa. Also, so Helen says, I'd like to see this place as soon as possible. Have learned about so many places to visit just around the GTA, and this is certainly one of them. Absolutely. Nancy's joining us from Georgetown. Madeline wants to know, is that lettuce growing behind you? No lettuce. There is actually a teaching garden here, but we won't be able to get to that. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read through so many here. Alan says, amazing story. This is fantastic, says Nancy. And Jennifer said, so cool finding that message in a bottle and neat for the daughter. I thought so, especially to consider how late it is, how old it is, right? So Shirley is joining us. And, oh, Shirley says she found a watch in a resort in Cuba. And a brand name, too. Well, that's good. You see, you never know what you find. Now, watch if somebody starts saying, I lost a watch in Cuba. Can you describe it? Wendy says, I found a diamond or gorgeous crystal, and I've never had the courage to find out what it is. Probably just a gorgeous crystal. You know what? It would be kind of fun, though. You know, you would kick yourself if you waited for 10, 15 years and then you found out it's worth, you know, $500,000, right? So you never know. I'll leave that up to you. And David is joining us from British Columbia. This is 30 and sunny. Yes, in fact, there is extreme heat out in Western Canada from the U.S. I mean, it's dangerously hot. We have also Jack is watching us, and Lorraine is saying hello. Jennifer is watching. Oh, so Sarah J says, can I work your weather magic, get sunshine for Saturday and Sunday? Don't be greedy, Sarah J. We do need the moisture. A lot of our farming friends in the agricultural industry, they need a good rain. Maybe it'll be coming too much and too short of a time span, but nonetheless, we do need some. Valerie says, moved into a new cottage and had to replace a toilet after a few months, but found a Rolex watch blocking the flusher. I think that's called a royal flush. Right? Now, I don't know, Rolex has got to be waterproof. Anybody know? As if my crew has a Rolex. Yeah, maybe. Now, not a Relax. It has to be a Rolex.
Oh, okay.
But that's interesting. Isn't that something in the toilet? Wow. Jim says, I found a picture in my dad's wallet after he died. I was a few months old, balancing on his outstretched hand. The fact that he had carried it in his wallet for over 40 years, and the look and joy and pride on his face brought tears and a smile to my face. You see, now that is priceless. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great story, Jim. I appreciate it. Jennifer says you can hear the birds in the background. Yeah, I'll just be quiet for a second. Isn't that amazing? I love it. I love it. In fact, let's talk about birds and let's talk about pollinators, because this is International Pollinator Week, and I think we take for granted, you know, the fact that 1 out of 3 bites of food is really responsible because of pollination. And, you know, the fact is, yes, it's a lot of local stuff, apples, blueberries, strawberries, and that sort of thing, but also, you know, abroad, you know, anything from coffee to almonds, again, all needed in terms of pollinators. Now, bees and butterflies probably get all the glory, but it should be noted there are literally hundreds of thousands of pollinators on the planet. Everything from ants, certainly to beetles, to bats. You'd never think it. I don't think many people give credit to bats. They eat tons of mosquitoes, but they also help pollinate. So we need to help them, because they are, in fact, not just bats, but all pollinators are under threat due to many different things, whether it's chemical pesticides, habitat loss, climate change. So that's a little bit about what International Pollinators Week is. How can we help them? Because we need them. And it's interesting because nature's amazing on how it works in aiding the succession of everything maintaining a balance. For instance, colors. When you look at colors on flowers, you know, the markings on certain flowers draw and attract pollinators. And I have to tell you, humans are colorblind compared to birds and many other animals. You know, almost all birds and many insects see well beyond what humans see. And I want to show you an image here. And I found this fascinating because birds are tetrachromats. And that means that they see 4 colors: UV, blue, green, and red. Humans see 3, blue, green, and red. So through the eyes of a bird, this image really is amazing. You can see the difference of human vision versus bird vision. So it plays a real powerful, you know, adaptation for the animal world. Now, I should point out, in this example, the magenta, the UV color, it was created on this graphic so we humans could actually see it. You can see the difference, but it's just astounding. So colors play a huge role in our natural world. So as we celebrate Pollinator Week, I wanted to give you some tips. So I wanted to lay out 5 tips for you, things that you should consider, and they're very easy to do in your own garden. And the first one is to plant native species. There are many studies that have been done, especially when it comes to bees, that native species attract bees 4 times than non-native plants. So that is one thing for sure that you can do. So native species of plants. The next is a variety of colors. And when we talk about a variety of colors, you can see some of them here. I mean, this is really just amazing. You know, and they actually have a pollinator garden here. It's a little bit far for us to go, but I'm going to show you some of the colors here. Bees love blue, purple, and violet. In fact, we may see there's a bee right down there. Obviously, we've moved into the area, but see, they're moving all in here. So bees love blue, purple, violet, white. Hummingbirds, they like the reds, the pinks, the fuchsia colors. And then butterflies, they love orange, pinks, and yellows. So this is a great example of all the different colors here. And this is not the official pollinator garden, but you can see that this is, you know, certainly serving a purpose without question. The other thing you can do is plant in clumps. So when you put a whole bunch of different species together, you're really making it like a buffet of pollen and nectar. And you want to give many options. So you will be rewarded with seeing more insects, animals, that sort of thing coming to your garden. And also multi-season varieties. You know, you want to extend the food source for as long as possible, because the insects and the birds, they will come for the food at various life stages. So if you can continue to get different species of plants that will be in full life here from early spring to early fall, you've expanded that window, not only helping pollinators, but again, you're rewarded because you get to see all of them come into your own space, which I think is a real treat. And the other one, lastly, is a water source. Now, we clearly have a lot of water sources here, but at home you can do this, and it's very simple. You can use even something like a pie tin and just put some gravel or some small stones in it. So when you put in some small stones, it's a place for them to perch themselves. They can get a drink, because a lot of people don't. Yeah, of course birds need water, but insects need water. Insects need to drink. They also need it, depending on the species, for reproduction. So you want to include a water source. Just make sure, if it is not a fancy schmancy water source where you have, you know, a bubbler or that sort of thing, that you want to change that water regularly, because you don't want it to be a mosquito Motel 6. Okay? You don't want them to get comfortable in that non-moving water, right? But it will go a long way. We have a traditional bird feeder. And then we also have some we use some ceramic dishes that catch the water when you put water in a planter. So, you know, it's really only about an inch high, and put a couple of pieces of gravel in it. But it's amazing, you know, what you see going into it, everything from dragonflies to beetles and that sort of thing. So those are some of the tips that you can help create a pollinator paradise. Now, Ricardo, would you mind just showing that building there before we get too far away? Because that in itself is another beautiful thing to see. That is the Center for Urban Ecology. It's the Humber Arboretum's greenest education center, in the province, I should say. And it includes a green roof up there, so the substrate can absorb about 10 liters of water for every square meter. So it slows the flow of the rainwater that it collects. So that's the Centre for Urban Ecology, and it is Ontario's greenest education centre. And they do also open it up for public tours. You'll have to check now because of COVID restrictions, although things are starting to ease. But just fascinating to come here. It's free to come here and explore, and you can learn a lot because they have a lot of teaching gardens. So we're going to continue our walk here, because there's a couple of other things I wanted to share with you, in particular on how rare of an ecosystem this area sits in. But we continue to connect with you. Carol is joining us from Niagara Falls, and oh, Nancy says as soon as the wet weather moves on, we have to get to this park. Yeah, please do, and let me know. I'll be glad to hear your thoughts when you come see it. Linda's joining us from Whitby. Ruth says, missed the beginning. Where are we? Well, we are at the Humber Arboretum. We're streaming live here, as we do each and every Friday at 1 o'clock, at various green spaces and neat places with great stories. So this is at the North Campus of Humber College. And just to backtrack, if you are late, so all of this has been, oh, are you waving? That's okay. We don't have a problem with that. by the horticultural students. You know, they do a lot of the work here. Of course, there is a partnership, as I mentioned earlier, but just a beautiful spot. Kathy says, for the AKQ, I found a gold, and you left us as a cliffhanger. Gold ring? Gold key? I don't know. Oh, Valerie said that Rolex brought us 500 at the pawn shop. So that's not bad. You were changing a toilet, you got 500 bucks. You know, that's okay. Judy says, looking forward to the rain this week. It feels like a correction in the weather was due. Our crops around here need rain badly. And that's what we were saying. So Mother Nature's going to help you out, Judy. You can count on that. So that's really good news. Also, Michelle is joining us. Alan says you learned so much from these shows. Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. Sharon says beautiful blooms. Sarah J says 1 year I found a ring while jogging in the sand in Cuba. Maybe it's the same lady who lost the ring in the water. You know, she left a lot lighter. You know, she arrived with a whole bunch of jewelry, and now she's down to nothing there. Tammy's saying, happy Friday. We will be camping, lots of nature, rain and all. Yes. Now, Tammy, I just want to stress, if you hear thunder, you want to get into the car or a cabin or something, because lightning, you know, it kills people. So let's not mess around with that. But I wish you a great weekend for your camping. Kathy says, I found jewelry wherever I travel. My favorites are a gold anklet and a long gold necklace. I've also found native beads. Let me guess, Kathy, you have one of those metal detectors. You're that lady. Beep, 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 and you're digging? Not that there's anything wrong with it. In fact, did you know there is a shortage of metal detectors because of COVID? People are bored. So they're like, I'm going to be a treasure hunter. You know? So if you found a hole in your local park, it's somebody who couldn't go to the lake shore and they're digging in there. But good for you. Christopher is joining us. Hey, Christopher, happy Friday. Always appreciate you joining us, my friend. Christina Stevens is joining us. And by the way, Christina co-hosts with me the Blue Files on my YouTube channel. And we just finished a session. I'm hoping to get it uploaded for Tuesday. Some great topics. Always appreciate your help, Christina. And Lorraine is watching us. Marguerite is watching. I'm going to scroll through here. Madeline, Michelle, and Eileen is watching. Kathy says we find the most amazing places in the GTA to highlight and love it. Well, I'm glad. I'm so glad. You know, I got to tell you, I just feel on such a high, not only because it's Friday, but we're just exploring such a beautiful spot. I'm double vaccinated. Life is getting good. And I don't want to gloat because I know there's other people that still have to wait, but I'm excited. I'm pumped. So thank you for joining me each and every day. We're going to continue our tour here because I mentioned about a rare ecosystem. First of all, you can see again, you have lots of different features. You know, this is a photographer's paradise as well. But this arboretum is a part of the Carolinian Bioregion. Now, not this part itself, more in the natural spaces. As I mentioned, there's about 6 kilometers of trails, so I'll let Ricardo lead us through here, and you can see the sort of the bank of the natural forest where you can walk through there. And so it's more of a natural setting. It's not manicured with gardens per se. And what's interesting is that this is the most diverse ecosystem in Canada. In all, over 1,700 species of plants and animals live in it. Now, the bioregion stretches across much of the eastern U.S., but only the very northern edge reaches into Canada, so from Toronto to Windsor. And it's known for its variety of deciduous trees. So like black walnut trees, you know, they grow 150 feet high. They have huge trunks, you know, a meter wide. And you won't find those virtually anywhere else in the country. So this is a part of that Carolinian bioregion. And the reason why it's so rare, because any of the other spots, for the most part, it's already been developed. And you can't get that back. So this is now a green space that will remain. And you can see how thick it is. It's just beautiful. And it's very, very important that we keep it intact. So this is another area that I encourage you to explore. We're not going to go in it just because we're afraid we may lose the signal. But you can see how thick it is. And I was talking to some of the work crews. They have managed to really get out here and clean up some of the beds, unlike last year, because some of the restrictions have eased, so they have some of the volunteers. But they were also stripping out some of the invasive species, like lily of the valley. You know, I always thought it's really cool. It's a beautiful smelling plant, but it's actually invasive. It's beautiful in your own garden, but when it comes out into a natural green space, it's the root system. It will choke off everything else. So they were doing that. Also, and I'm trying to look, they've done a good job here already, an example of the burdock. So maybe we'll just try to go here a little bit, Ricardo, before we wrap up. The burdock, which almost looks like the wild rhubarb. A lot of people think it is rhubarb. But those are the weeds that produce late summer, early fall. The burrs, you know, the burrs that stick you almost like Velcro. Oh, look, there's a bird right there. But let me see. Looks like they did a really good job. Okay, so we'll enough here because I don't want to lose our signal. But so it's amazing, you know, what you learn when you come here, and there's various signs. There's a silver maple sign here, so you can learn a lot about different types of trees and the garden life that is here. So my friends, this has been just an amazing time to have your company as we stream live again at the Humber Arboretum. I'm going to ask you as we get set to close out here for a Friday, if you enjoy what we're doing, show me those parade of hearts. Line them up, if you please, because that really shows support for the project as well as the channel in terms of Facebook, and it just helps us grow. So show me a parade of hearts, and I ask you to please make sure you're following my page. If not, make sure you follow and share it to friends as we continue to grow. And we really are growing. As I mentioned, there are now over 10 countries that log into the show, and of course right across Canada. So we appreciate that. If you're watching the re-rack, if you will, on YouTube, if you like it, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we grow that platform as well. Again, we do this each and every Friday. We stream live at 1 o'clock right here on my Facebook page. On that note, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for joining me. Have a safe and happy weekend, and we look forward to your company next week here and there. Take care, guys.